the summer has not started in the best way for our royals. It's like a cork popped after the Missionary Review's exposé on the king's right to order. Our monarch is evicting a poor refugee after she ran her café in Ulriksdal Castle impeccably for 17 years. Now the king himself wants to run a café business there, and then 56-year-old Indira Alicalfik will have a husband. Her life's work has crushed King Glufs Glufs, as the head of state is now known, medieval feudalist. The monarch has been accused of displaying narrow-mindedness and arrogance reminiscent of a medieval feudal lord, arbitrarily and willfully holding his subjects in an iron grip. The Mission Review report is a PR disaster not only for the king but for the monarchy. Why should Swedish taxpayers help Prince Carl Philips, 44, and his companion, Oscar Baseman in Kilberg, 51, with low rents and luxury renovations so he can make millions in profits from his design company and the prince's company? And why should the Swedes have to pay for the luxury renovations of 40-year-old Princess Madeline and 48-year-old Chris O'Neill's more than 12 million kroner over 400 square meters of flooring in the court stables? The royal family didn't even want to pay for a new dishwasher. Taxpayers had to do it. Dynamic employee. The court's information department failed to deal with the scandal, and the responsibility falls on the 59-year-old information manager Margareta Torgren, who behaved strangely passive. Instead, 39-year-old Johan Tegel of the information department stepped forward. The 79-year-old Queen Silvia must be both pleased and impressed with the dynamic official Tegel, who did not hesitate to protect our monarch with his body when the 69-year-old Uppdrag granskning reporter Richard Ashberg tried to surprise the king during the county's visit to Bleking. Now it is said that Torgren's time at court will soon be a thing of the past. According to Stop the Press, the information manager will be forced to leave shortly before Victoria Day on July 14. Pretty legs. King Carl Gustaf, 77, was personally heavily involved in the recruitment of Margareta Torgren. The former employee of the Scan sausage factory made a good impression on our monarch, perhaps even too good. Stoppa Prassarna previously reported that it is alleged in court that she only got the job because the king thought she was beautiful, as Stoppa Prassarna was told by a long-time employee at court. Among other things, King Carl Gustaf is said to have initially expressed his admiration for Torgren's beautiful legs. After being recruited, according to several insider sources, the king clearly continued to love his female information director. He is said to take every opportunity to spy on her and really devour Margaretha with his eyes. I've never seen it myself, but that's how it happens in the corridors of the castle, says a court clerk. Out of respect for those involved, Stoppa Prassarna has decided, for reasons of press ethics, not to reproduce in more detail how gossip runs among the courtiers. Intolerance. Talk of snick among the staff reached Queen Silvia, who had already suffered from the king after his allegedly famous and limited affair with Army of Lovers star Camilla Heinmark, 58. Since then, our queen has not tolerated the possible flirtation of her husband. Memories like a splinter stuck in the German-Brazilian heart of Silvia. Now Stoppa Prassarna can report that Silvia and Margareta Torgren recently smoked together. Seriously, the fight must have taken place in connection with a planning meeting before the royal couple's visit to Kronoberg County. Torgren included an item on the program that gave the royal couple a chance to talk about forestry issues with a number of county representatives. Many who are suffering. Something Silvia was against. She already knows that the king is passionate about forest issues, and the queen was just afraid that they would get stuck and thus the program would be delayed. There would be delays if the king had to talk about his problems with spruce borers. King Carl Gustaf had previously talked about his horror with the pest beetle. I think this is not only a concern for me, but for many landowners and forest owners in Sweden. There are many people who suffer from the really horrible spruce moth. the king stated when he participated in the podcast Varvet. The Tsar couldn't help himself when the omnivorous battering ram spoke. These 2 years have been very malignant, and many billions of dollars have been lost. Small forest landowners who see their capital disappear are often affected as well. It's terrible, bad atmosphere. Silvia, who knows her husband backwards and forwards, feared what would happen if King stuck with the forest owners in Kronoberg County. Margaretha Torgren must have stood her ground, however, and after a while the atmosphere became bad, really bad. The Queen decided and couldn't resist bringing up the old sexual rumors surrounding Torgren. It is said that the Queen blurted out something like, "You and your legs, I know what you're up to." It was very awkward, and the meeting ended quickly, says the informant Stapa Prasarna. From that day on, Torgren and the Queen could not be spoken to, and Silvia also had to start working on singling out Johann Tegel as a possible successor to the head of information. Sensitive sex fight. As far as is known, Torgren I the king managed to talk to the forest owners during his visit to the county of Kronoberg. Whether Margaretha Torgren will be able to keep her job is highly questionable. The king has always cared for her, but the disruption with Mission Review and the touchy sexual brawl with Silvia forces our monarch to act. Most facts point to Margaretha Torgren sending out her latest press release soon.